What happens when royal protocol meets late-night television and neither side is willing to back down? Tonight, we're diving into one of the most explosive celebrity interviews that almost never made it to air, where Princess Kate found herself in a heated confrontation that would leave Jimmy Kimmel's audience absolutely stunned. Before we get into this incredible story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments what you think really went down behind the scenes. The tension was already thick in the air as Princess Kate walked onto the Jimmy Kimmel Live set. The usual pre-in small talk had been unusually strained, with the princess's security detail making last-minute demands about certain topics being off-limits. Jimmy, known for his irreverent humor and unwillingness to be censored, had already expressed frustration to his producers about the growing list of restrictions. "Your Royal Highness, welcome to the show." Jimmy began with his trademark grin, though those watching closely could see it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Or should I say, welcome to what's left of my show after your people got through with it." Kate's smile remained perfectly composed, but her voice carried an edge. "Thank you for having me, Jimmy. Though, I have to say, I expected a warmer welcome from someone who supposedly champions authenticity." The audience shifted uncomfortably as Jimmy's eyebrows shot up. Authenticity. That's rich coming from someone whose entire life is scripted by palace PR handlers. Speaking of which, how many times did they rehearse that answer with you? "I beg your pardon." Kate's posture straightened, her media training warring with genuine offense. "I'm here as a guest on your program, not as a target for your cynicism." Right, my mistake," Jimmy said, leaning back in his chair. "I forgot we're supposed to pretend this is a real conversation and not an elaborate commercial for the monarchy. So tell me, what's it like knowing that every word you speak has been approved by a committee?" The princess's composure began to crack. "That's entirely unfair, and you know it. I came here to discuss the charitable work I'm passionate about, not to be insulted by someone who makes jokes for a living." "Jokes for a living?" Jimmy's voice rose slightly. "At least my work doesn't depend on an accident of birth and centuries of inherited wealth built on colonialism." A collective gasp rippled through the studio audience. Kate's face flushed, but her voice remained controlled. "How dare you reduce my life's work to an accident of birth? I've dedicated years to causes that actually matter while you sit behind this desk making light of serious issues for applause." "Oh, causes that matter." Jimmy leaned forward, his media persona dropping completely. "Like what? Opening hospitals that your family's wealth could have funded entirely? Cutting ribbons at events that are essentially photo ops designed to make the monarchy look relevant? You clearly have no idea what you're talking about," Kate shot back, her royal training finally cracking. "Those hospital visits mean everything to the patients and families. Those ribbon cuttings represent millions of pounds raised for research and treatment. But I suppose someone who's never contributed anything meaningful to society beyond cheap laughs wouldn't understand real impact." The studio fell silent except for the hum of cameras still rolling. Jimmy's jaw tightened. "Cheap laughs? I've raised more money for charity in one telethon than you've probably seen in your trust fund. At least when I help people, I don't need a photographer and a press release." "Trust fund?" Kate's voice turned icy. "You know nothing about my background or my motivations. I didn't choose this life, but I've dedicated myself to making the most of the platform I have. What's your excuse for wasting yours on celebrity gossip and playground insults?" "My excuse?" Jimmy stood up from behind his desk, something he rarely did during interviews. "My excuse is that I don't pretend to be something I'm not. I don't parade around in designer clothes paid for by taxpayers while lecturing people about social responsibility." Kate rose from her chair as well, her voice gaining strength. "Those designer clothes, as you call them, are chosen specifically to support British fashion and designers. Every appearance, every outfit choice, every public moment is calculated to benefit others. But clearly nuance is lost on someone whose idea of social commentary is Twitter jokes." "Twitter jokes that reach millions of people and actually change minds," Jimmy countered. "Not carefully stage-managed appearances designed to maintain an outdated institution that most of the world sees as a relic." "A relic?" Kate's composure finally shattered completely. "The monarchy provides stability, continuity, and charitable leadership that your Hollywood elite could never match. We don't disappear when the cameras stop rolling. Jimmy, we don't get to choose which causes are trendy enough to support." The audience was transfixed. Phones out despite security's earlier warnings. This wasn't the polite, scripted exchange anyone had expected. Jimmy's producers were frantically signaling from the wings, but both host and guest seemed oblivious to everything except their escalating confrontation. Stability for who exactly? Jimmy pressed on. The people struggling to pay rent while funding your palaces? The former colonies still dealing with the aftermath of British imperialism? Or just stability for the privileged few who benefit from pretending hereditary power is somehow legitimate? Kate's eyes blazed. You want to talk about legitimacy? What legitimizes your platform to speak about serious issues? Your comedy writers? Your network executives? At least my position comes with genuine responsibility and accountability. Accountability. Jimmy laughed harshly. To who? You can't be voted out. You can't be fired. You can't be held responsible by the people whose taxes pay your salary. That's not accountability. That's the opposite of it. The princess took a step closer to Jimmy's desk, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper that the microphones barely caught. You have no idea what real accountability looks like. Every decision I make affects not just myself, but an entire institution, an entire nation's relationship with its history and its future. Your accountability extends to what? Your ratings and your advertising revenue. Jimmy's face darkened at her words. Ratings and advertising revenue that actually reflect what people want to see and hear. At least my relevance is earned, not inherited. When people tune in to watch me, it's because they choose to, not because they're told they should respect me. Chosen relevance, Kate repeated mockingly. Is that what you call pandering to the lowest common denominator? Making jokes about people's personal struggles for entertainment. Kate's voice was calm but edged with steel, holding her ground. At least when I appear in public, I'm there to lift people up, not tear them down for laughs. Jimmy's voice cracked with disbelief, incredulous at her claim. Lift people up? You lift people up by reminding them every day that they'll never be good enough to sit where you sit. That no matter how hard they work, how much they contribute, they'll never have the privileges you were born with. Kate's hands clenched at her sides. Her tone sharpened. That is not what the monarchy represents. And you know it. We represent service, duty, and dedication to something bigger than ourselves. Concepts that might be foreign to someone whose biggest concern is whether his monologue gets enough retweets. Jimmy stepped out from behind his desk now, crossing the space between them with deliberate strides. Service? You want to talk about service? I've been to war zones entertaining troops who actually put their lives on the line. I've raised money for families who lost everything in natural disasters. I've used my platform to shine light on injustice and corruption. What wars have you fought? What real risks have you taken? Kate's voice rose to match his intensity, refusing to back down. Real risks? Every time I step outside, I risk my life. Every public appearance could be my last. Every word I speak is analyzed by millions of people looking for any sign of weakness or mistake. You think living under that kind of scrutiny while trying to make a positive difference isn't a risk? Jimmy scoffed loudly. Oh, please. You're surrounded by security teams that cost more than most people make in a lifetime. The biggest risk you face is someone taking an unflattering photo. Meanwhile, real people are struggling with real problems while you worry about which tiara matches your gown. The audience was completely silent now, the air tense. Kate's security detail subtly moved closer, their hands instinctively twitching near concealed weapons. Off-stage, producers whispered heatedly to network executives who had appeared seemingly out of nowhere. You know what your real problem is, Jimmy? Kate's voice turned cold, almost royal in its cutting clarity. You're threatened by the idea that someone might have influence and respect without having to beg for it every night. You can't stand that there are institutions older and more enduring than your precious entertainment industry. Jimmy laughed bitterly, stepping closer again. Threatened? I'm threatened by someone who's never had to earn anything in her life. Someone who's never faced real consequences for failure. You want to know what threatens me? The idea that we're supposed to pretend hereditary privilege is somehow noble while actual working people struggle to survive. Kate tilted her head, her tone now dripping with disdain. Working people? Tell me, Jimmy, when was the last time you actually worked alongside ordinary people? When did you last visit a food bank, hold a grieving mother's hand, sit with veterans dealing with trauma, or do you just make jokes about their problems from the comfort of your Beverly Hills mansion? Jimmy's face flushed red with anger, his fists clenched. I don't need to justify my charitable work to someone whose idea of charity is showing up for photo ops. At least when I help people, I don't need a parade of photographers to document my supposed generosity. Kate's composure cracked for the first time, voice tightening. Photo ops? Those photos raise awareness and funds that save lives. Every hospital visit, every charity gala, every ribbon cutting generates media coverage that translates into real help for real people. But I suppose someone who thinks everything is about entertainment value wouldn't understand the concept of using visibility for genuine good. Jimmy moved even closer now, standing directly in front of her chair. His voice was sharp and unforgiving. What's genuine about a system that teaches people to bow and scrape to someone based on whose womb they came from? What's good about perpetuating the myth that some people are born better than others? Kate stood up again, face to face with Jimmy. Her voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. You want to know what's genuine? Dedicating your entire life to serving others without any choice in the matter. Never being able to have a private moment, a personal opinion, or even a bad day without it becoming international news. You chose your career, Jimmy. You can quit tomorrow if you want to. I can never quit being who I am. Jimmy's eyes lit up. He had been waiting for this moment. And there it is. The real truth. You resent the life you were born into just as much as everyone else resents the system that put you there. The difference is you have the power to change it, and you choose not to change it. Kate's eyes blazed with fury now. You think I have the power to single-handedly reform a 1,000-year-old institution? You think change happens because one person decides to throw away everything their ancestors built? Real change takes time, patience, and working within systems to improve them gradually. Jimmy threw his hands up, voice rising again. Gradually? How gradually? Another 1,000 years? How many generations of people should accept inequality while you work within the system to maybe possibly eventually make things slightly better for the common folk? Kate took a step back, her royal training warring with the genuine anger in her chest. The common folk, as you so condescendingly call them, seem to support the monarchy just fine without your help. Maybe the problem isn't the institution. Maybe it's bitter celebrities who can't accept that some things matter more than ratings and box office numbers. Jimmy leaned forward, jabbing his finger for emphasis. Support it because they've been conditioned to. Because they've been told from birth that this is natural and right. But ask people in countries that have moved beyond monarchy if they miss bowing to someone who contributes nothing but ceremony and tradition. Kate responded sharply, each word measured like a blade. Ceremony and tradition that provide continuity and stability in an increasingly chaotic world. Values and customs that connect people to their history and heritage. Not everything valuable can be measured in profit margins and social media engagement. Jimmy shook his head in visible disgust. History and heritage built on conquest and exploitation. Stability for the powerful maintained by keeping everyone else in their place. You talk about connection to the past like it's automatically a good thing. But some parts of the past deserve to stay buried. Kate leaned in, her voice low and fierce. And some parts deserve to be preserved and honored. Not everything old is automatically wrong just because it makes modern sensibilities uncomfortable. The monarchy has evolved, has modernized, has taken responsibility for past mistakes while maintaining what's valuable about tradition. Jimmy's voice cracked with incredulity, hands gesturing wildly. Taken responsibility? When? Where? I must have missed the part where the royal family gave back. The stolen artifacts in your museums or compensated the countries you colonized or even apologized for the centuries of oppression carried out in your family's name. Kate's face went white with rage. How dare you hold me personally responsible for events that happened before I was born? That's like blaming you for every terrible decision Hollywood executives made in the past century. I can only be responsible for my own actions and my own choices. But Jimmy pressed on relentlessly, his eyes narrowing. But you benefit from those past actions every single day. Your wealth, your position, your palaces, your influence, all of it built on historical injustice. At least I earned my success, flawed as it might be. Everything you have came from someone else's suffering. The princess's hands were shaking now, with barely controlled fury. Everything I have came with obligations and responsibilities that you couldn't handle for 5 minutes. You want to talk about earning success? Try living every moment of your life under public scrutiny while trying to use whatever influence you have to make the world better. Jimmy laughed harshly, bitter amusement in his voice. Make the world better? By perpetuating systems of inequality? By teaching children that some people are born to rule, while others are born to serve? By maintaining institutions that exist solely to preserve privilege for the few at the expense of the many? Kate's voice turned to ice. Her words were precise, sharp. By providing leadership, continuity, and moral guidance in a world increasingly dominated by people like you who mistake cynicism for wisdom and destruction for progress. Not everything needs to be torn down, Jimmy. Some things are worth preserving. Jimmy's voice turned savage, his face twisted in disdain. Worth preserving? Like the divine right of kings? Like the idea that God himself chose your family to rule over everyone else? Maybe we should bring back trial by combat while we're preserving these wonderful traditions. Kate's composure finally shattered completely. Her voice rose. You know what, Jimmy? I came here hoping to have an intelligent conversation about issues that matter. Instead, I find myself debating with someone whose understanding of history comes from Wikipedia and whose idea of social progress is making jokes about serious problems on television. Jimmy's face contorted with rage, his words spat like venom. Wikipedia? At least Wikipedia is written by people who actually research their topics, instead of having their opinions handed to them by palace advisors. When was the last time you had an original thought that wasn't approved by a committee of handlers? Kate shot back, her royal accent sharpening with anger. When was the last time you had a thought that wasn't calculated to get laughs from drunk college students? At least my words are chosen carefully because they might actually influence policy and help people. Your words are chosen to sell advertising space between celebrity gossip segments. Jimmy stepped closer, his voice dropping to a menacing whisper. You want to know what really bothers me about you people? It's not just the privilege. It's the arrogance. The absolute certainty that you deserve respect just for existing. The way you look down on everyone else while pretending to serve them. Kate's voice rose to nearly a shout. Her eyes were blazing. Look down. I have spent my entire adult life trying to lift others up, to use whatever platform I have to shine light on important causes. Meanwhile, you use your platform to mock and belittle anyone who doesn't fit your narrow worldview. Jimmy laughed with genuine disbelief. My narrow worldview? I'm not the one who thinks I was chosen by God to rule over millions of people. I'm not the one who lives in palaces while telling others about sacrifice and service. At least I admit I'm just an entertainer instead of pretending my job is some sacred duty. Kate's voice turned cold and venomous. Sacred duty? You wouldn't understand duty if it came with a laugh track and a commercial break. Duty means showing up every day whether you want to or not. It means putting other people's needs before your own desires. It means carrying the weight of expectation and responsibility without the luxury of quitting when things get difficult. Jimmy's voice cracked with incredulous laughter. Responsibility? To who? Your responsibility is to maintain a system that benefits you and people like you at everyone else's expense. That's not duty. That's self-interest dressed up in fancy language. Kate was trembling with rage, her voice seething. Self-interest? Now everything I do is scrutinized, criticized, and judged by millions of people. Every charity I support, every cause I champion, every word I speak in public is analyzed for hidden meanings and political motivations. If I wanted self-interest, I would have walked away from all of this years ago. Jimmy moved even closer, now mere inches from her face. His words were ice. But you didn't walk away, did you? Because deep down you love the power. You love the difference. You love being treated like you're special when the only thing special about you is an accident of genetics. Kate's hand moved as if to slap him, then stopped midair. The entire studio held its breath. Her voice turned deadly quiet. How dare you presume to know anything about what I love or what motivates me? You sit there in your comfortable chair, making jokes about other people's lives while contributing nothing of lasting value to the world. Jimmy's control finally snapped completely. He roared. Nothing of lasting value? I've made people laugh during the worst times of their lives. I've given them moments of joy when they had nothing else. I've used comedy to point out injustice and hypocrisy. What have you done besides smile and wave? Kate's voice turned to pure venom, each word a dagger. Smiled and waved? I have held dying children in my arms. I have comforted grieving families. I have raised millions of pounds for research that saves lives. I have used my position to bring attention to mental health, addiction, and social issues that people like you only mention when you need material for your monologue. Jimmy sneered. His voice was thick with scorn. And I'm sure the cameras captured every touching moment. Every tear, every hug, every compassionate gesture documented for maximum PR impact. Tell me, do you practice your concerned face in the mirror, or does it come naturally when the photographers are around? That was the final straw. Kate's face went white with fury. Her voice shook with barely controlled rage. You are absolutely despicable. You have taken this interview, which was supposed to be about charitable work and important causes, and turned it into a platform for your own bitter jealousy and resentment. Jimmy laughed harshly, voice echoing in the stunned silence. Jealousy? Jealous of what? Your gilded cage? Your complete lack of freedom. Your inability to have a genuine human experience without it being managed by publicists? I wouldn't trade places with you for all the crowns in your collection. Kate stood up abruptly, her chair nearly toppling backward. That's it. I will not sit here and be insulted by someone whose biggest contribution to society is making fun of people more successful than himself. This interview is over. Oh, it's over when you say it's over. Jimmy stood as well, matching her aggressive posture. How very royal of you. I guess when the commoners get too uppity, you just dismiss them and walk away. Kate turned toward her security detail, who had moved closer to the stage area. Get me out of here now. But Jimmy wasn't finished. That's right. Run back to your palace. Run back to your handlers who will tell you that the mean comedian was just jealous of your superiority. Don't let yourself be exposed to any criticism that might make you question whether you actually deserve the life you've been handed. Kate whirled around, her composure completely gone. You want to know what I deserve? I deserve to be treated with basic human decency, which is apparently beyond your capabilities. I deserve to have my work judged on its merits instead of being attacked by bitter entertainers who can't accept that some people dedicate their lives to service instead of self-promotion. Service to yourself and your family's interests, Jimmy called out as she moved toward the edge of the stage. Don't dress up privilege maintenance as public service. At least be honest about what you really are. Kate stopped at the edge of the stage, her security team flanking her. She turned back to face Jimmy one last time, her voice carrying across the silent studio. What I really am is someone who tries to make a positive difference in the world despite dealing with people like you who tear down anyone who represents something bigger than themselves. History will judge which of us actually contributed something meaningful to society. History is written by the winners. Jimmy shot back. And your family has been losing relevance for decades. Enjoy your decline into complete irrelevance. Your Royal Highness. Kate's security team moved to escort her off the stage, but she held up a hand to stop them. She looked directly into the main camera, addressing the audience with icy dignity. I came here tonight hoping to discuss important charitable work and causes that could benefit from public attention. Instead, I was subjected to personal attacks and historical ignorance, masquerading as social commentary. I hope viewers will judge for themselves what they witnessed here tonight. Jimmy wasn't about to let her have the last word. What they witnessed was someone who can't handle being challenged, who expects difference and gets outraged when they don't receive it. Someone who mistakes birth lottery for personal achievement and can't understand why that might rub people the wrong way. As Kate and her security team moved toward the exit, she called back over her shoulder. And what they witnessed from you was exactly why serious people don't take entertainers seriously when they try to comment on important issues. You have shown yourself to be petty, vindictive, and completely out of your depth. The studio remained dead silent as the princess and her entourage disappeared through the stage door. Jimmy stood alone center stage, breathing heavily, his usual composure completely shattered. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every moment of the unprecedented confrontation that would be replayed and analyzed for years to come. Finally, Jimmy turned to face his stunned audience and the cameras still broadcasting live. His voice was hoarse from shouting, his hair disheveled. His professional demeanor nowhere to be found. Well, folks, I guess that's what happens when entitled privilege meets honest criticism. Some people just can't handle the truth about themselves. The audience remains silent, unsure whether to applaud, boo, or simply sit in shocked silence at what they had just witnessed. Network executives were already scrambling to figure out how to handle the fallout from the most explosive celebrity interview in television history. So there you have it. The incredible true story of how Princess Kate ended up being escorted off Jimmy Kimmel's show after one of the most heated confrontations ever captured on live television. What do you think really triggered this explosive exchange? Was it Jimmy's relentless questioning or Kate's inability to handle criticism? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more incredible celebrity stories that you won't believe actually.